Welcome back to HGC, where currently we stand 2-0 in favor of Tempo Storm, though I feel like that does not paint an accurate picture of this series, because what we've been seeing is LFM win the battles, but Tempo Storm win the games. LFM comes in with a strong early game every game. Battlefield of Eternity, Dragonshire. The Tempo always finds a way to win the game.
It seems like they know how to win. Believe it or not, they're actually pretty good at that. For LFM, they're still trying to figure out how to do that. And game number 1, I believe, was 7 kills to 6 in favor of LFM. That game, I believe it was 12-5. So they're winning the battle. As you said, they're winning that. They're just not winning the war at this point. If they can continue to keep that up, they did show signs of progress in that, hey, we're finding out ways to win. It's just discovering them in the moment, I think, is the hard part right now against such an experienced team like Tempo.
Well, the next battleground will be Infernal Shrines, which Tempo Storm has been picking a little more often than what we would have expected from them in Phase 1. Even picking it over Towers of Doom, which you and I thought would probably be the choice for Tempo Storm. Heck, Volskaya Foundry is still up, Jay, though it's a different Volskaya Foundry than before.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo loves to have second pick. They absolutely love to have second pick. When I brought up the stat in Phase 1, it actually surprised me, the win rate. I think at first pick, they were something like 9-6, about 80% of the way through the season. And at first pick, it was much higher at somewhere like 19-3. Right now, coming into today, they were 7-1. Now, after that last game at second and pick, they're 8-1. As first pick, they're 3-2. So I'm not saying that they're a bad first pick team. I'm saying that they love second pick, and they're not as good as first pick.
Well, they're going to be second pick again here on Infernal Shrines. The one game that we saw them play on Infernal Shrines was Game 1 versus Octalysis. And you know, I looked at this series. Tempo plays Team Freedom on Sunday. And as we've seen, Freedom is a strong team. I thought, maybe Tempo will want to hide some strategies this series. But Tempo doesn't really feel like, Jay, how the team that's hiding strategies right now. They feel like a team is just going to come in, play what they think is strong, draft to their strengths. And they did that versus Octalysis. They played Illidan and Alexstrasza on Shrines. They lost to a Punisher with the core, but it still was one heck of a game.
Yeah, everybody kind of respects the Punisher a little bit more.
I know I do.
Well, Johanna being banned out. To me, this is the thing where I like seeing this type of adaptation in draft. You take away Johanna from the equation. Muradin has been high priority for both Fury and Cattle, but Johanna put so much respect in your warrior choices. Diablo, a lot less appealing. ETC, almost impossible. Muradin's the only one that can kind of stand toe-to-toe, and even then, it's just too much control, especially for a map like this. Urel's going to be picked up, and now, as we saw with Endemic earlier, willing to commit early to Alexstrasza. See if Tempo Storm will be willing to do the same.
They did last time versus Octalysis. They were behind a lot of that game, but then had a great late game team fight, passed a Punisher, seemed like they were going to live. They're not going to get Alexstrasza here, but Alexstrasza is such a good pairing with Diablo that now seeing the Johanna ban, knowing that LFM are probably going to get a warrior here, they want to go ahead and get Diablo here. If Alexstrasza doesn't get taken away, that's going to be a great pairing. And then they'll also get Hanzo.
LFM, as you mentioned in our previous game, is that they've played some Gul'dan in the past. They like their mages. Jaina obviously is kind of up there. Gul'dan is more situational, but as we've seen from Gul'dan in this meta, it's been rough goings for Gul'dans, not just for LFM, but for basically every team right now. Gul'dan just doesn't seem to fit in this hyper sustain, which Gul'dan, a lot of sustain damage, not a lot of burst, and I think people are just out healing a lot of what he brings to the table.
I think if they get it, it'll be way later. We'll see whatever tank Fury wants here, most likely. And then the support, oh, they get Phoenix, Alexstrasza. So they're going to go back to leaving their tank later to ensure that they get Phoenix. Heads up, considering that Hanzo was already taken by Tempo Storm here. They want to make sure that they get some wave clear, some solid sustained damage, and then they get Alexstrasza as a takeaway. Now Garrosh ban from Tempo Storm. What do you make of that one?
I'd be cautious of another Sergeant Hammer. I would be very cautious of another Sergeant Hammer. I think that Sonya is a very high priority for Tempo Storm, for Glaurung on this battleground at this given point. But I would caution a Sergeant Hammer in this pickup.
Okay.
And
they will too.
They do too.
One thing, I'm already scared for this Alexstrasza because of Hanzo, the Dragon's Arrow. But then also now having Deckard Cain, it's tough to pick an Alexstrasza up above, though she does have such good shrine control. If you get the lead on a shrine, it is yours.
This is one of those moments where I think that Yrel is strong, but I kind of wish for that Dahaka to put the pressure onto the Deckard. There's a lot of good spots that you can get onto him, but that's another story for another time. We've seen very good control over those chokes with Lornado and the Scroll of Sealing that goes down. You gotta have something that can escape that. Yrel does okay. Muradin can get locked down and blown up in any of that, flipped over by Diablo. So they're gonna go ETC.
And Tychus.
I love the Tychus pick.
Yeah.
Great on shrines with the grenade for clear. More importantly, the minigun for Diablo.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Trying to bring down that big beefy target once he gets all of his souls can be really hard. The minigun is going to work out really well for that. Tassadar, thought that was a likely pick for Tempo Storm. Almost wondered if LFM would ban it until you saw that Garrosh, and that might have just been a clever ruse yet to force LFM to ban that hammer so they could get that Tassadar, because Tassadar is solid with Sonya and Hanzo. It works out pretty well with Diablo, making another wall for a charge, though there's lots of walls on Infernal Shrines to get those charges. This is a well-rounded composition from Tempo.
Again, one of the two maps between Infernal and Tomb where Tassadar can go independently, but it also gives you the single target save that Deckard throwing heals out does help, but the extra shield is good, contributes to the clear of the shrine. Potential late game siege once we get Archon post level 10 and then Infinite Archon at 20. We know Fan on this, which I imagine will be playing that Tassadar, is incredibly powerful. Probably the most, we hear that Yoda is the best, but in terms of sheer damage, as far as like playing the damage dealer, Fan I think actually holds that title.
He's been playing Tassadar since, a long time. He's been on that Tassadar, loves to deep shift into the back line, and now, because you can get the dimensional shift reset and Archon, it's a pretty good time. Also, I thought the Deckard Cain was a nice addition for Tempo Storm. We know that Fury wants to be aggressive as a warrior, set up kills for the team, and with the Garrosh gone, the Diablo taken, it was entirely possible that LFM would look to that ETC, and now you have Lornado as an interrupt if he wants to mosh pit.
Well, we're going to get block for Sonya, which is good against Phoenix, not so great against Tychus, so depending on positioning, may or may not see the maximum value, but given the circumstances, keeping some of that damage at bay, not a bad choice as Tempo walks forward, gets a little bit of early siege damage out.
Glaurung on the Sonya too, we didn't get to talk too much about that, but that is excellent for Tempo Storm to put on a shrine. Tassadar too, they have a ton of wave clear, as evidenced by LFM having to leave droplets to clear out the dregs of the rest of the minions in the mid, while the rest move southward.
June is just, as more and more people pick up, he is the one that says, I am changing the build of Deckard.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's just something that works really well. Fan gonna eat a bit of damage there as he gets away, but plenty of healing potions. Swab's bringing the big hammer towards Glaurung, and you know, Tassadar and Sonya used to be the hotness on Infernal Shrines a couple years ago. Sonya's always been good on this battleground. Tassadar's always been good, but pairing them together, their success rate is very high.
Yeah, being able to provide the shielding in between her being able to whirlwind and get herself healing in is a big reason why you see that duo in action. The supporting of Sonya so that she can just shine and go even deeper in the back lines of your opponents. We saw a mirror of the mid camps, but Tempo Storm, with that wave clear, has rotated down to try to get that bottom camp too, while LFM are just going to try to siege, clear out the Khazra in favor of Tempo Storm in the mid, and see what they can get done there with that Phoenix.
I'm looking at the interrupts, so clearly Deckard has 2 very good interrupts to deal with a Mosh Pit and Dragon Arrow as well. You know, we've seen Stage Dive to limited success up to this point, and I really think that Mosh Pit, sometimes it's just finding those 1 to 2 seconds of locking people down that really have the high impact. And curious how Fury is going to approach this. His most successful warrior over his career, definitely the most experienced. We'll see what he opts to go with. Whatever Fury picks on ETC, I'm going to trust.
I suspect Fury agrees with you, and this will be a Mosh Pit game. Apocalypse could be the choice for Diablo's another way of trying to deal with that, but it's been largely Lightning Breath, and it does help out with the clear, zoning, damage, the slows too.
I mean, that's the thing, is the way that we saw Justin use it with that upgrade at level 20, it was just a matter of like, okay, that's a nice dragon you have there. What if I just breathe fire in return? And it actually worked out really well on the Shrine. You mentioned zoning, that's one way. I mean, because the dragon cannot knock you back because you are unstoppable while casting it. We'll see if that is going to be the pickup.
Finn takes some shots from droplets now. LFM have some people on the Shrine, but Tempo Storm, despite having these good Shrine heroes, we're just trying to get some structure damage done in the top. Similar to Infernal Shrines and what we saw Freedom do in the last series. You're going to move Sonya down now to continually harass those from LFM that are on that point. They're just doing what they can to get some structural damage done to keep up and allow them to open up possibly other lanes, other avenues when they start to look at the Shrines.
They've done a very good job so far at keeping those waves at bay and even getting a little bit of experience of their own. They're at that point where they know they can confirm the last few. Obviously, Fan's done his job trying to keep a lot. And it's not about clearing that you're going to win. It's about denying, right? That's the reason why Tacitar's there. It's denying the speed at which you can obtain those skeletal defenders. And that's where Tacitar comes in, as he's just going to casually snipe a handful. It was only 13 in the end, but it ended up forcing the response out here from LFM to finally pick up the Punisher.
Well, let's see if LFM can equalize this pressure. Jan has the leap, Glaurung here to clear this out quickly. This will be a front wall. Maybe a well if they're feeling confident.
I think
they're even going to get on that fort. Wow.
The problem is
fast.
Their minion wave that will be coming is quite a ways. It's still all the way back at their fort gate at the moment. So I think it's just way too long. Re-engaging might be an option here, but I think that with the commitment of Tempo Storm to bring everybody down, they got a lot out of it. Had that timing been a little bit more in their favor, that's definitely a fort.
Yeah, it's more than I thought they'd be able to get, and they may be able to do more because they go for their camp. They're going for the double camp play in mid. Started on the bottom with ETC, grab that, and they can try to escort that in. Tempo Storm should be aware of that, though.
Camp's picked up. This is a moment they can come down. Sonya, they see at the top, and they've already brought, LFM has already brought Yrel down to the mid in case a skirmish does break out. There's going to be a power slide in. Cattle going to go ahead and shove him right back out. Roots come in, but this fort could fall, and that race towards 10 definitely in favor of LFM now.
Well done by LFM to claim what they started. Look toward heroic abilities now. Do we have a mosh pit or a stage dive from Fury as he power slides out in the nick of time to avoid that scroll of ceiling?
I'm really curious how Tempo Storm is going to address this, because Odin and Dragon Queen alone have such amazing shrine control that the race, and you know, Tacitar, once he finishes his baseline quest but then gets Sonic Echo at 16, will have a pretty decent amount of clear, but the race on the shrine is very much, in my eyes, in favor of LFM. You had the Phoenix in there as well. Yeah,
they're looking strong, and if the hope was to try to get ahead for Tempo Storm in the early game with that push, with sacrificing the Punisher, so that later on they had an experience advantage so that LFM couldn't contest those later shrines. That's not going to happen. They're going to have to try to turn the tides in their favor with a fight somewhere before they can start to run the map in their favor and keep LFM from getting to the shrine because of an experience lead.
Well, after the furious pace that we saw in our first 2 games, this has been anything but. As you know, going against an Alex Strauss on that first shrine, as you said, may not net the most results, and it's going to be a losing battle either way, so they completely avoided it. But post level 10, it is a very different story. So we'll see as this game goes forward, because as slow as it's been for now, the pace can shift at any moment.
Ramp up, that's for sure. And this might be it. Shrine activating soon. Tempo Storm gets in, puts some structural damage down in this bottom lane. Everyone moving in position to defend. Glaurung has taken quite a lot of damage, and look at Fury.
ETC.
He's coming in deep. Dragon's Arrow just to stop him. Purification Salvo doesn't quite hit him with the power slide, and that is enough to keep Glaurung alive with the salvo. Had that just been a minuscule difference in positioning, the lockdown.
I think Oracle had to have been used to know that ETC was rotating down, because that Dragon Arrow, unless that's just, I have faith that this is going to be the saving moment, that Dragon Arrow was clutch. There's a power slide in, and the re-engage here by Cattle. Cleansing Flames are out, Gilly.
Yes, but the heal reduction was stopping some of that. Biggie goes into the Odin now. Alex Strauss drops down, aware, hopping into dragon form. Big abundance to heal them back up. This is good for LFM. They get back on the point. They have 27. This is exactly where you want to be with this composition on a shrine. Tempo's like, yeah, you got it. It's fine.
I mean, that escalated quickly for LFM. When I saw those numbers, they're rising, they're okay. Yeah, there's no contesting this. And now up in the top is going to be Fan defending against that Shaman camp. You know, the one thing about having to use Odin for defense and the clears, you don't have Odin to siege up with. That's a small thing, but definitely missing out on quite a bit of siege damage. But this fort will fall. Potentially one tower on the keep wall.
Oh, that power slide right after the leap. Biggie was there to try to get the damage in with Tychus too. Tornado separates the rest of the team away. Fury's trying to stay alive and a salvo to disengage as the rest of the team work down this.
Mosh pit.
I said disengage, but Fury's right back into the action, and Goopa Stomp takes down the Deckard Cane.
He was willing to trade. He ended up trading out 2 for 1. There's going to be the damage reduction on Glaurung. There's going to be the follow-up. That is another takedown as LFM taking the fight. And again, I told you, it is not about the masterful mosh pit. You don't have to get the 5-man mosh pit, Gilly. That is what you expect from a veteran player to come in. It is not always about the flashy plays. He knew that he could trade out 2 for 1 there. Ended up getting a 3rd kill. Diablo lost his soul, so they won on so many fronts trading out there.
J-Hal, I feel like had this been week 1 LFM, that follow-up would not have been as snap. But Fury, when everyone else is starting to back off, he power slides right back in, gets that mosh pit, and the rest of the team swaps, jumps in to join in. He knows he's going to trade, but he knows he gives his team more. And LFM gets a lot more out of that too as they're working down this final fort of Tempo Storm.
Oh, if LFM gets this is a big chunk in experiences. Now the race for 16. This now will firmly be in favor of LFM. They don't need any setbacks at this point. This is a chance, I think, for them to let their foot off the gas a little bit. Play the map, play towards 16. It's going to be in the top. Take away some of the camps, the options available for Tempo Storm. Race towards 16, because I believe the timer should be in LFM's favor to not give up enough experience. Tempo Storm might be on the tail end of it, but as we've seen with an Alex Strauss and with a Tychus, if you get any amount of lead, it is very easy to seal the deal on that shrine.
And enough of an experience lead, and they may not have to use those abilities to take the shrine, which is far scarier for Tempo Storm when they start to look at the siege. The next shrine is going to be in the top. That is all of the forts are gone, so that is looking at keep damage now from LFM2. And with 16 on the horizon, Tempo Storm is just going to have to slow their roll back on out, unless they can try to get a pick maybe right now. But it's far too close. It's so close.
The threat of 16 might be enough to keep Tempo at bay, but Glaurung's like, nah, I still like the fight.
LFM playing the patient call, respecting Tempo Storm. I mean, 2 games now, LFM have had to varying success an early game lead. Battlefield of Eternity didn't last as long, and you might even argue it wasn't a lead. That first Immortal was by a hair in LFM's favor, but otherwise, it's always been a point where Tempo Storm makes a comeback, and if LFM can just find the places to clean that up, they can get a win here, especially with this kind of lead and this kind of comp on Infernal Shrines.
Tempo's going to hard push another lane. This right now has to be the moment where LFM pushes. They are doing just that. They're going to push that lane out, get some keep wall damage in. The experience, the comeback experience on those towers is not there. They don't want to stay here too long, and the reason being is that if that fort gets threatened, actually, they're going to go ahead and come back. This just empowers this next Punisher to not just get keep wall, but now talking about keeps. And if things go really crazy with a mosh pit, could be looking at final. But they have to get back to this. This is why I said you can't stay too long, because 16 now dangerously close for Tempo Storm. Glaurung's going to try and get it here in the bot lane. This should be enough of a lead here for LFM. Perfectly played to give themselves another advantage.
Yeah, that Shaman camp made that extra scary too. So Tempo Storm all the way backed, except keeping Glaurung out because of the damage she can do with that Wrath of the Berserker. Getting the fort down in the bottom. This is Tempo Storm, if they can survive this, setting themselves up to be back in this game after this Punisher push. So LFM, they need to get something done with this. They, at the very least, need to get that keep down so they have catapults.
Yeah, and the experience. They need to regain that experience advantage because they lost both of their forts, which is not only experience, but map control. They gave that back to Tempo Storm in those other lanes, so they definitely have to make more happen here. They have Odin, they have Cleansing Flames, they have the Dragon Queen with the upgrade at 16. So it's an opportunity for them to siege up and do damage and see if they might be able to end the game. There's the Shadow Charge in. Swabs gets flipped over. Dragon Queen is out. Lornado, one of the interrupts from Mosh Pit, is also down. See if Fury can find a moment to rip one of these mosh pits.
Pacify used on Diablo as the Lightning Breath was used. LFM fully focused on getting this keep down, and they will do so. Trying to back on out here. Tempo Storm is going to try to keep this fight going, try to see if they can get someone on the retreat. It's a long road back for LFM. Dragon Queen has been out. Fury takes a chunk of damage.
He might turn. I mean, I think if Dragon Zero was down and Lornado was down, that was the moment. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen then. Again, that experience, comeback in those forts. Here comes Fury. There's going to be the power slide over. Getting a little bit to safety. He's going to hop on the point, get some healing, but the healing reduction is there. Cleansing Flames out.
On Purification Salvo too, Fury knocking back Glaurung with the Cleansing Flame. Alexstrasza stays alive as all of Tempo Storm looking for blood. LFM backs out again. This was the point that LFM started to lose in previous games, so they're being cautious about whether or not they can engage. They've used a lot of their heroic abilities. They need to be careful here. They've used Cleansing Flame too. They're going to go into this choke. Caterpillar has Lightning Breath, and he uses it with the Lornado. This is a problem for LFM.
Yeah, that choke point is condemning them. Droplets knocked out of warp. He's going to fall. Biggie trying to get out of there. Swabs, he's in retreat. And LFM, just the moment they get control, they're going to give up some of that in the experience advantage. Going back over to Tempo Storm, 3 members down. And now Tempo Storm, they're taking it and they're running with it. And Gilly, the next shrine in the bottom lane, they get the race to 20 on the side of Tempo Storm. They get the keep wall down. And now they can start threatening keep and potentially game here by the time the 20 tier rolls around.
40 seconds until Swabs is back. We're going to see Odin be used by Figgy to try to scare away Tempo Storm from pushing further behind this, because 10 seconds until ETC is back, and they will back off. Tempo Storm content with that keep in the lane where the next shrine is going to be when they have amassed the experience advantage, and burning something like Odin is a great sign for Tempo Storm. But as you mentioned, it does feel like LFM had opportunities to force that fight earlier in more favorable positions. They knew that they needed to somehow keep their lead going if they could off of that keep, but unfortunately for them, that was a scary place to take a fight versus things like Lornado, June's Lornado to say the least, and the Lightning Breath.
It seemed like every moment that we saw Fury consider trying to turn back around, June's positioning, repositioned himself, making sure that he was not caught in that. And so very heads-up play. It's what you expect out of that type of player. But definitely LFM, the minute they get that keep, they had retreat options. They chose to take that fight. And taking it in that choke against the Diablo and a Lornado is super scary. And now they're looking at being down a talent tier, being down 20, and having no keep in the Punisher lane. That is very scary. This might be desperation dive core moments, but Odin 15 seconds out. They might try and take a fight here as well, but LFM is in a very tough spot.
If they were hoping to get a fight before 20, Tempo Storm was far too close for that to happen. But with that being the only camp up, they knew that it was likely a place where some of Tempo Storm could have been. Ideally, they get a pick on someone there.
Play of the game. That's the only reason we see Hanzo on the top, because if a fight breaks out, he will rip that Dragon's Arrow and join this fight. He's holding that pick. Actually, it is now locked in. Fan with that Infinite Archon trading out against Droplets. Fight raging on here in the middle. Here comes the play.
There is the play. Dragon's Arrow, and Finn jumps out of it to put the damage on Swabs. They're going to back off to the safety of this Dragon Queen. That's a big abundance that will heal them up. LFM still hanging in this fight, but that is such a long lightning breath. But we saw the mosh pit work for Fury, even without 20, even without something like a tour bus. Cattle dives forward, finds a Fury, takes him down. Cattle so close to fall, but he sustains himself through June and the heels of his
It looks like they're trying to re-engage, but Droplet's taking a lot of damage here. Fan continue with the Infinite Archon. Swab's going in, trying to steal, but he's going to get tossed over and rammed directly into that. Maybe a scatter arrow, but either way, Swabs is dead and 2 members down. Now, your defensive mechanics, ETC and Urel are both down. Urel self-cleanse at 20, not an option here. Droplets gets the warp out. June, see if he can get the lockdown. There's the slow. Here comes the scroll. No warp out. Droplets.
He has Unconquered.
Oh, he's 20 now. Just got it.
Ooh. That was as close as it gets, but he still needs to heal up. He still can't fight back for a little bit of time. This Punisher has not left yet. And there are 2 ranged assassins and a support left. Droplets gets the pull. Vin follows up with the kill. And as with the other games, Tempo Storm weathers all that LFM brings to the table to come in and win another game.
It has not been easy. I mean, it's got to be a bit heartbreaking if you're an LFM fan. But if you're a Tempo fan, are you worried at all that your team is not coming out in the dominant fashion you expect? Is it more LFM or is it more Tempo at this point? Because LFM brought a heck of a fight. I mean,
we can ask the player. That's what I want to ask. I'm not sure.
The Tychus pick up in that game was great. You know, paired very well. They had a lot of control, but getting a keep and getting the lead is LFM. Again, more experienced teams with more experienced players. Fury very experienced on his own, but that requires a team understanding the mentality of winning, knowing how to win, and they're struggling. I mean, to go up 2 games and 2 and 3, game 2 and 3, get keeps, have the lead, have the map control, and then lose it in a subsequent team fight just moments later is tough.
It's devastating. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Those were 2 devastating losses. But I would posture this. That is some of the best play LFM has put out yet.
Yeah.
They are improving. And yes, it is rough now. 3 series in a row to go 0-3. But I hope they don't let that get to their mentality. Because especially after their loss versus Endemic, which was rough. That was a rough 0-3 to have 2 games versus Heroes Hearth, and then those games go the way they did for LFM. This team is promising. This team can do it.
They have the hopes that they can be a top 4 team. Top 4 team for Western Clash, definitely not necessarily a reality now.
Right.
But going forward, again, it's just a matter of getting to the playoffs for them at this point. The Western Clash, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the long term. And I think that they still have the potential to climb out of that 7-8 hole that right now they're currently in with no tomorrow. And we'll see how that goes. But for Tempo Storm, still undefeated, and that's the main thing. Doesn't matter how you got there, it's that you're still 4-0.
Yeah, and with a good game percentage too. They didn't lose any of those games. So when you're looking at differential of games, when we start questioning the standings and where truly teams are going to be, standings affect seeding when you look at things like the Western Clash. And so for them, they want to be as high as they can because everyone wants to avoid Team Dignitas or Team Liquid, depending on how that match goes.
Hey, we'll find out about that soon.
I can't wait for that one. That one looks good.
I'm really excited for Tempo to continue to show their resolve through experience. that is the name of the game. Is their experience, their shot calling, their knowing how to win has been here. But similarly to Heroes Hearth, there's been some adversity. It hasn't been clean victories for either team, and you could argue the level of competition is definitely there. But we want dominant wins from our dominant teams. We want dominant wins. In Tempo Storm, they're 3-0, and so on paper, 3-0 looks dominant. But in reality, it's been a bit tougher than meets the eye.
I think it's very interesting to see Tempo Storm be in this position too, because I remember a time when Tempo Storm would have been the LFM, like that. The first GCWC, when they got like a 4-level lead over Ballistics and then lost that one, and they were the ones with the early game, but then closing out. I don't know what's about to happen.
Something's over there.
I don't even know.
Oh my God.
Of course I know.
Oh my God.
Who is this?
Hello? If you know June, I imagine it's...
Let's bring them on. Hello, how are you today?
Hello. Hello, guys. Doing pretty good.
June, what's going on here?
I'm a banana for today.
Oh.
I'm ashamed that I play kind of bad, so I had to wear this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry that, you feel like you have to do that, but you guys still got the 3-0. It did seem like there were moments that were shaky. Were you guys expecting LFM to bring in such a strong early game?
Their LFM is actually a pretty decent team, more than people give them credit to, even though they're all three. They always been team who's good at early game, but kind of lacking late game macro-wise.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, we kind of potatoed, yeah.
Yeah, do you guys feel like it's more their early game, or do you feel like it was more like you guys having a tough match here, or do you feel like it's just mainly a mix of both?
I think it's honestly mostly on us.
Okay.
We shouldn't have got picked like we did on early game. And at the same time, I still want to give them credit to punishing us for our mistakes. So yeah, a mixture of both.
Well, June, I've been hoping to have you on for an interview because I want to ask you about your Deckard Cain level 1. Because most people take the gem Sapphire for the extra slow, but we see you focusing on the armor reduction, the stacking quest. What is it about this talent that you like so much?
So I've been testing that the Deckard level 1 for a while in Scrim now, and I've been liking more and more as I play because on Deckard, I mostly look for those late game power spike with the 16 and the minus armor when you complete the quest is really good for like damage, because right now the meta, like all the front line is really tanky, and having the extra negative armor really helps on team fights.
Well, it's worked out for you. Your Deckard Cain has been so much fun. Your Lornado's such great setup. So congratulations, even though it was a tough series on your 3-0. Any questions for June J. Howe? Banana June?
June, you guys are undefeated. There's no doubt about it. You guys are still at the top of North America, but it hasn't looked like the Tempo Storm that we know. Obviously, you're still working in Vin here, as this is going to be his 3rd week with you guys. When do we see the tempo of old? When do we see you start to round form with these dominant wins that we know? Because right now they haven't necessarily been easy.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give us a little bit more time until we are able to play like we used to. I mean, I think Vin has a really good potential to be just as good as Sam or even better. So give us like a couple more weeks.
All right. Now, there was an announcement. There was an announcement from Tempo Storm today that you guys brought on a coach in Soy, somebody that you're very familiar with, who comes from the Korean region. For those that don't know, obviously a world champion. It's really hard when there's a banana out of the corner of your eye. But you bring in Soy in, somebody that you as a team know very well. What is his impact so far or in the environment of the team that he can bring to maybe help your team out going forward?
Soy, we all know that he's world-class player. He won BlizzCon and Gold League Team International back-to-back. So every little bit of information or knowledge that he has, it helps out for sure. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too much of what he does because it's a secret, but yeah, it helps a lot.
Secret Soy, Secret June with a banana hat. I don't know Tempo's secret, Tempo. So I don't know what to make you guys, but you're still undefeated. So congrats on the win, man.
Thank you.
Hey, June, before I ask you about your match versus Freedom this Sunday, if you could help settle an argument between Jaehao and me, when you look at Fan and Vin now as your backline, do you think the duo name of Finn or Van is better?
Finn?
Finn? Or you
What
like
was that?
Finn? Yeah? I'm just going to say it was Finn, and we're going to go with that. Tell me about your
Wait,
match versus Team Freedom this weekend. Wait, what?
Sorry, what's Finn?
Oh, Fan plus Vin on the back line?
Oh,
Do you like do you like
oh.
Finn or do you like Van better?
I think I like Finn.
Yes!
Yeah, Finn's
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
You can take the opinion of a man with a banana on his head all you want. That's
Okay,
fine.
I'll take that and go with it. Tell me about your match versus Freedom this weekend, please.
Freedom. I think it's gonna be one of those really hard games. I feel like it's gonna go game 5. Although I hate full set series. I hate those. But like they're really unpredictable on the ban picks and stuff. They're one of those really those kind of team. So, but as long as we keep practicing and getting better, we should be able to win. I hope. I mean, winning is fun, and losing sucks. We hope we win.
Well, good luck to you in that match. Hopefully, you put on a performance worthy of not having to wear the banana. Do you have any shout outs to your fans, to your sponsors, anything like that before we have you go?
Yeah, shout out to our sponsor Tempo, and we have right now has a new game called Bazaar, and thanks to Red Bull, Twitch, Nvidia, Overwolf, and thanks to Vin for subbing. I mean, probably permanent. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks Vin for playing. And Twitch chat, you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, June. You are awesome. Congrats again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Words of wisdom from a man wearing a banana head.
Winning is fun. Losing sucks.
Yeah, that's.
There it is. This sums up.
Like, you're laughing at
interview.
something, and I'm like,
I'm laughing
know
at the
it's right.
banana.
Yeah, well-
He's just delivering all of his shout outs, thanking sponsors as a banana. Like, that's all I'm laughing
I kind of wondered. I couldn't tell if he had his glasses on. I was like, is he even going to be able to read the screen? Like,
He's got it. Oh, June, we do love you. Let's see what is in store for tomorrow in HGC Europe and North America. In Europe, what do we have, Jaehao?
it's going to be Method versus Monkey Menagerie, who always brings on a show. You can expect a lot of very fun compositions from them. And then Fnatic and Leftovers, those records, identical there. Not where I think Fnatic expected to be. So Fnatic obviously trying to get back in the win column, while Leftovers trying to put themselves at even.
Then North America, Team Octalysis and Simplicity are going to face off. Also have the same record as those two teams, and though it's not where Octalysis would like to be, those two losses were Tempo Storm and Heroes Hearth last weekend, so we'll see if they can bounce back for this important weekend for them. And then Heroes Hearth Esports going up against No Tomorrow. It's going to be a tough one for No Tomorrow, Jaehao.
Yeah, I mean, No Tomorrow has actually gotten out to strong starts in all of game number 1s in each one of their series, including picking up one of those wins, but they've been competitive in game number 1. It's everything after game number 1 where things tend to be a little bit of a trouble, and doing that against a team like Heroes Hearth could mean a very tough day. So if they're able to right the ship in game number 1 in some of those, maybe they can get some momentum, but Heroes Hearth definitely the favorite there.
Well, more good games to come tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us today here at the Heroes Global Championship. We'll see you tomorrow for more action. Good night.
Banana.